Hello dear students, welcome to the online class for the students of English literature. In this video we are going to study about Nissim Ezekiel, one of the prolific English poet. Nissim Ezekiel was born on 16 December 1924 and died on 9 January 2004. He was an Indian Jewish poet, actor, playwright, editor, and art critic. He was a foundational figure in post-colonial India's literary history, specifically for Indian poetry in English. Now, students, on the screen you can see an image of Nissim Ezekiel, and below the image there is an introduction of the poet. As he was born on 16 December 1924 in Bombay Presidency of British India and was died on 9 January 2004 at the age of 79 in Bombay, Maharashtra in India. As considering about occupation, he was a poet, playwright, art critic and editor, and he worked during the period of 1952 to 2004. The genre in which he worked for was modern Indian English poetry, and his notable works were Night of the Scorpion, Latter Day Psalm. Notable awards: he was awarded with Padma Shri in 1988 and was awarded with Sahitya Akademi in 1983. He was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1983 for his collection Latter Day Psalm by the Sahitya Akademi, India's National Academy of Letters. Ezekiel has been applauded, means he was popularized for his subtle, restrained, and well crafted diction, dealing with common and simple themes in a manner that manifests both cognitive profundity as well as an unsentimental realistic sensibility that has been influential on the course of succeeding Indian English poetry. So this is his stylistic effort that he bestowed in his poetry. Ezekiel enriched and established Indian English language poetry through his modernist innovations and techniques, which enlarged Indian English literature, moving it beyond purely spiritual and Orientalist themes. Means his themes were from the Orientalistic area to include a wider range of concern and interest, including familiar events, individual angst, and spectacle societal introspection. When we talk about his works, Ezekiel's first book, the name The Bad Day, appeared in 1952. He published another volume of poems, The Deadly Man, in 1960. After working as an advertising copywriter and general manager of a picture frame company, he co-founded the literary monthly Jumpo in 1961. He became art critic of the Times of India during the period of 1964 to 66 and edited Poetry India in 1966 to 67. From 1961 to 1972, he headed the English department of Mithibai College, Bombay. The exact name, his fifth book of poetry, was published in 1965, and during this period he held short-term tenure as visiting professor at University of Leeds in 1964 and University of Pondicherry in 1967. In 1969, at the Writers' Workshop, Ezekiel published his three plays, which includes Nalini, Marriage Poem, and The Sleepwalkers. So his three important plays were Nalini, Marriage Poem, and The Sleepwalkers. A year later, he presented an art series of 10 programs for Indian television. And in 1976, he translated Jawaharlal Nehru's poetry from English to Marathi in collaboration, means his co-composer was Vrinda Nabar, and he co-edited a fiction and poetry anthology. His poem The Night of the Scorpion is used as study material. Note, students, you should note that Night of the Scorpion is a very famous poem, and it is also included in your syllabus as a study material in Indian and Colombian schools. Ezekiel also penned, means also composed poems in Indian English, like the one based on instruction boards in his favorite Irani cafe. His poems are used in NCERT and ICSE English textbooks. His poem, Background Casually, is considered to be the most defining poem of his poetic and personal career. Nissim Ezekiel is often considered the father of modern Indian English poetry by many critics. So this is a very important and key feature of Nissim Ezekiel's poetry, that he is considered, due to his stylistic efforts in poetry, he is considered his innovative themes in poetry, he is considered the father of modern Indian English poetry. He was honored with the Padma Shri Award by the President of India in 1988 and the Sahitya Akademi Cultural Award in 1983. Some of the books are listed here on your screen, composed by Ezekiel. In 1952, he published Time to Change, and this is also a series of poems. In 1953, he he published 60 poems, and in 1956 there came a work of Nissim Ezekiel, The Discovery of India. In 1959, The Third. In 1960, The Unfinished Man. In 1965, The Exact Name. And in 1974, there came a work of Nissim Ezekiel, Snakes, Skin and Other Poems, translation of the Marathi poet Indira Sant. In 1976, he published Hymns in Darkness, and in 1982, Latter Day Psalm. Psalm means a sacred song. In 1989, he published collected poems from 1952 to 1988. So this is a short introduction, a brief introduction of the poet Nissim Ezekiel, and I think that this is a very important information for you students. And in the next and forthcoming videos, we will study the poems that is included in your course, in your syllabus, and composed by Nissim Ezekiel. So that's all for today, students. Thank you all.